We decided, because there were single speakers, that we'd do a Laurel and Hardy act.
Welcome. We're just talking about back to basics. It's a local government perspective in relation to bush regen. And for those of you that don't know, we've turned into one council. We were formerly three councils: Northern Beaches Council, formerly known as Manly, Warringah and Pittwater, and we're now just the one. We represent today North for you.
And for those who, for those who aren't aware where the Northern Beaches are, because I know there's some people here who don't live in Sydney, we're right up the northern end, obviously, of the peninsula. We're bounded by Pittwater. Hawkesbury comes in at the head of Pittwater, where Barrenjoey Lighthouse sits. If you travel across the water, you're into Central Coast, and we're bounded by Ku-ring-gai Chase and Garigal National Park, so we've really got really great connective links there. So we're talking about back to the basics, and I feel like we're reiterating what a lot of people have said, but we've found that these basic principles really work. And for us, working from good to bad, save what you have, it's really basic stuff, and let the rate of recovery dictate the level of your restoration. And we can't emphasise more strongly that don't open up areas that you cannot maintain. I know we've all got limited budgets. Minimise your impacts and protect your core biodiversity. They're critical.
So the constraints, we do have a few constraints. Budgets. Our budget for North this year is roughly ballpark about $1 million for regen. So that sounds like a lot, but we're pretty frugal with where we spend that. But perception, maintaining public perception, we find is one of the biggest constraints as well in managing edges that need tidying up or have to be fairly cosmetic. Time constraints, particularly grants. Sometimes you don't have time on your side, so you've got those to work towards finishing grants. And of course, weather events. We've had some recent storms that have bashed us up a bit. Public relations. You can never do, I guess, a wonderful thing for everyone. Someone's always going to have a problem with what you do, but you just do the best you can. And our performance with the contractors. The contractor performance is exceptional for us, although we do ride them pretty hard.
Which they know. And so the twists. So we've got the basics and we know that they work, but there's always a twist. And basically, when you're working with a natural ecosystem, it's really dynamic. It's really exciting, and that's what makes it really interesting for us who work in this field. So you've got the basics, but disturbance is beneficial, but it's always in the right place and at the right time. And radical change can have enormous benefits, but the timing is really strategic. And there's that classic statement, your window of opportunity, you need to work with that to really achieve the best outcome. And observation awareness, we can't emphasise that enough. Know your site, know it backwards, and just keep monitoring and observing what's going on, and then evaluate.
So what are we looking after? Basically, Northern Beaches Council North has roughly around 487 hectares of bushland, 35 vegetation communities, dunes, estuarine, freshwater. We have woodlands, forests, rainforests, and mangroves. We've got 8 endangered ecological communities. One of those is federally listed, littoral rainforest and coastal vine thickets. 67 vulnerable or endangered fauna species. A very large diversity of Aboriginal sites as well, both shared with Ku-ring-gai National Park and European cultural sites as well.
So this is just an example. This is Porter's Reserve at Newport. It's about 300 metres from the northern end of Newport Beach. And it's got classic littoral rainforest with vine thickets. And this is one of our threatened species. It's a powerful owl. I was walking through the reserve with my head down looking at the weeds till a contractor said, look up, and there's the powerful owl with lunch. Oh. And we've got lovely creek lines running through this reserve too. How we manage and cope. So for us, a strategic approach is really essential because we've got a lot of pressure on us to do a lot of PR and respond to residents' ratepayers and all that. And we try and do it in a cost-effective way so there's a long-term solution. We try and establish good partnerships with our contractors. We want to have a really two-way street.
Excellent partnerships.
Thank you. We really value our bush care volunteers, and we see them as a backup for our contractors. We like to sort of dovetail, and we value locals because we think they have a stewardship over the land. They often observe things that are really, and they have that historical knowledge.
And of course, education's a very big part of what we do. We have routine, very regular plant giveaways. We offer those, they're free, and we ask the public to come down. We'll hold them in certain areas, certain catchments, and we'll provide free plants and education support, technical support to people, local species to reflect the local catchment and soils.
Obviously, we're working with the community. Volunteers for us are really critical. They often go for grants. They've often got a political stance and can be very proactive. Where we're limited in the politics sphere, we must, comply with the council line. But those volunteers out there can actually make things happen for us on the ground. So this is a classic example. This is North Mona Vale headland, actually. And this is one of our EEC, or ecologically endangered communities, and this is Themeda grassland on clay headlands. Pittwater's unusual that it has clay headlands, not like the other most of the Sydney Basin, which is sandstone. This was taken in 2002, and it shows a group of volunteers on a field day working. The Themeda had been mown regularly up to that point, and there was scattered weed quite a bit through it, but it was still in pretty good condition, and there was scattered heath, as the Themeda grassland tends to move from grassland back to heath and back to grassland. This is the same area in 2016. We had a wildfire go through here just after that earlier photo, and so we decided to leave it and see what would happen, naturally recover. But we found the Themeda did very well, but we got a lot more weeds through the Themeda, and the cooch and common cooch and blue cooch really got established. Plus also the heath are really pushing down into the actual grassland area. And one of the big issues for us is the time constraints and the money that we've got. Because grasslands have had all those herbaceous layers underneath the Themeda, it's time-consuming hand weeding. There's no easy option to manage it, and we found blue cooch and common cooch invading it to such a degree that we're losing the Themeda grassland. So what we're trying to do now is we've gone in and decided we're going to start mowing again, timing it with the flowering and seeding time, maybe twice yearly. We're looking to reduce the heath because it's not being managed. Originally, there would have been swamp wallabies moving through there, grazing on the shrub layer. So we'll be doing a bit of swamp wallaby management on our own. We'll be doing hand weeding and some spot spraying. So it's a sort of work in progress, really.
So lessons to be learnt for us are basics. The basics are certainly crucial, absolutely crucial, and we follow those.
And it's trying to keep the big picture in mind, not just getting focused on the small financial 12 months, what we're trying to achieve.
Certainly the observation of the site dynamics. Contractors are certainly on ground giving us feeding back information, but we make it a point of getting down and dirty on our sites, traversing the slopes and having a look exactly what we've got.
And it's really critical that you manage social and public perceptions, really allow the public to know really what's going on and why you're doing something, because there's a lot of misunderstanding out there.
Being proactive rather than reactive. Anything that gets you down, don't let it get you down, and just keep heading on.
You need to engage with all your stakeholders and embrace and nurture your volunteers, and we try and work with all the other land managers, Sydney Water, DPI, private property owners, so that we actually are working as one unit, but that is hard work trying to get everyone to work together there.
And whilst we always look to natural regeneration, sometimes that's not always the case. So where we have the luxury of collecting lots of seed from different trees, we broadcast that into the site, or we plug or we transplant, and found that very effective.
And of course, we always try and source grant funding. We're always looking for more money. And we just like to push the fact too that we're really keen on more than 12 months. We've got a few 6-year projects, and you can actually really see some substantial outcomes happening because of that time frame. So grant bodies, please give us some money over a longer period. And just to show the twist here, this is a classic example. This is down at Mona Vale Basin, literally 50 metres from the bush. This is a site that was degraded for over 35 years, covered with coral trees, camphor laurels, crofton weed, asparagus. Over 3,000 plants went into this area. This is the site today, 12 months later, 12 to 18 months later, and it was a combination of Green Army, bushcare volunteers and contractors. It's in a highly public area, and we get really positive feedback every time anybody walks through. So, thank you very much. And just one more note, we just want to sort of reinforce what everyone said, that we really, really need to embrace a dynamic dialogue with our sites while taking on board the parameters that we have to work within as council. Thank you.
Thank you.